Thank you so much, Dennis and Sustainable Silicon Valley, for hosting this green and aqua color job session today. And I'll keep this very brief since we're in overtime, as you said. Just wanted to give a brief overview of the partnership that Menlo Spark has with the City of Menlo Park, a company called BlocPower, and the nonprofit JobTrain to promote citywide electrification in Menlo Park, as well as a job training program for contractors and electrification installers. We are incredibly grateful to Senator Becker for providing funding from the state to help actually cover the costs of our low-income households in Menlo Park so that they can electrify and get off of gas just like everyone else. And we are still in fundraising mode to cover stipends for the job training program. But let me back up for a second and just say we are focusing on electrification in Menlo Park, as well as the campaign for fossil-free buildings in Silicon Valley and throughout the area, because this is really a critical climate measure to get at methane gas, also known as natural gas. It's a climate super pollutant with 80 times more heating impact than CO2. And it comprises almost half of our local greenhouse gas inventories for our local cities. It's right up there with transportation in terms of the impacts to our climate, as well as health impacts. We know that methane and other carcinogens are in the methane gas mix serving our homes, and there are some pretty serious health hazards there. But what folks might not know is that as we electrify and get off of methane gas in our homes and buildings, there's really a significant job opportunity for the area. I think the UCLA, their Luskin Center, predicts that we'll have 100,000 new jobs from electrification, and about 2/3 of those are high road or very skilled jobs, such as heat pump installers and electricians. And we know that we need to electrify our cities to meet our climate goals as a state. So we have a lot of work to do. We got a great start with the REACH codes, as Dennis mentioned. I think about 30 cities and both counties, San Mateo and Santa Clara County locally, have adopted some measure along the lines of a REACH code to require all electric new construction. But now we're trying to promote a transition to electric homes and buildings for existing structures. So back in June of this year, the City of Menlo Park signed on with BlocPower, a private company. This is a public-private partnership and one of the first of its kind to help the city create a voluntary program providing assistance for folks who do want to replace the methane gas appliances in their home. Shortly thereafter, we included the nonprofit JobTrain into our alliance and our coalition because we know that there aren't enough installers, as you've heard from other speakers today. We have an extreme shortage of installers who are proficient with heat pumps and other electrification devices. We're delighted that Sunwork has started to install heat pumps, and we hope that will grow as well. There's such a large need that we know that there's just not one silver bullet out there. And so with JobTrain, what we hope to do over the coming year is develop a new program that will provide focused trainings. These are 3-month trainings for cohorts of about 20 people to get trained to install heat pumps to provide both heating and cooling for homes. These are intensive programs. JobTrain recruits marginalized folks, and they recruit from disadvantaged communities within East Palo Alto and Belhaven, the Bay side of Menlo Park. They are recruiting and asking people to go through these training programs without other outside employment because it is intense. And so one thing that Menlo Spark is doing is some fundraising to cover stipends for the folks going through these programs so that they can make their rent and support their families while they're getting trained up for these new installation opportunities with BlocPower. We expect the program to begin with HVAC training this spring. And we're working in concert with some of the job training programs in East Bay. BlocPower is coordinating with Cypress Mandela in Oakland. That's another job training center. And So we'll be starting in concert with JobTrain and Cypress Mandela this spring to expand those HVAC training services. And as well, we're starting to retrofit some homes in Belhaven and more broadly in Menlo Park to gain that experience of what does a full concierge service look like to upgrade these homes and replace all of the gas appliances at once. Sometimes that means electric panel upgrades, but we're trying to avoid those upgrades. We think they're largely unnecessary. And we're trying to promote electrification that can fit within our current grid. As Mayor Burt in Palo Alto talked about, there are some constraints in terms of upgrading the grid and adding new electrical load. And so we're trying to tread lightly on our electric grid while replacing these gas devices. And so the first cohort of installers that go through the new JobTrain program will be trained up in optimizing the panel efficiency so that we don't need to upscale or upgrade our grid to accommodate this transition. The last thing that I want to mention is that there are larger regional efforts underway led by the nonprofit Lighthouse in concert with joint venture Silicon Valley. As we see other cities joining up with BlocPower, we know that San Jose will be launching in January, and we know that other cities are in discussion with BlocPower. We hope that our efforts with JobTrain and Cypress Mandela can kind of link up with Lighthouse and these other job training programs to provide comprehensive services throughout the Bay. But for now, we're starting small in Menlo Park. And we're hoping to grow that over the next few years to meet what we see as really a tidal wave of demand. We know that gas prices are increasing a lot. We'll see a huge increase and a spike just this month in December. And so we expect a huge demand for heat pumps and other electric devices to help people transition off of gas. Some people are saying there's a tsunami of interest in heat pumps. We'll see, but we're trying to get ahead of those demands and train up the next generation of installers. And so I hope all the folks on this session today will join us in that effort to dramatically expand the electrification workforce. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Diane. And that was Teresa. There's Diane. And so many tsunamis going on here. And also, yes, you mentioned the price of methane gas has really been spiking. It is one of the most volatile pricing consumables that we live with. And people are undecided about whether it's, in the short term at least, bad or really bad in terms of these price increases.